What's up, football fans? Coming at you today with another video, this time giving some tips and tricks on how to improve at the game. This video, little disclaimer, this video is tailored toward the audience of individuals who may be new to these games, who may not have played Madden a ton or not played the old college football games. If you're new to these games, this video is for you. If you're an experienced Madden player, you're probably not going to take much from this. Feel free to stick around and watch it, hit that thumbs up. But this is not really the target demographic for this video. This is the type of content that I wish someone would have taught me years ago that I didn't have to prevent me from having to learn things the hard way. So a couple different route concepts, a couple different things, a couple different controls that may help you get an advantage against your opponents. Let's jump into it. So the first tip on this list is knowing your plays. So why is that important? When you get in a third down situation, you're going to want to know which plays you can call that you're going to be able to run efficiently. If you're just going with what the coach is calling, you may not know the route combinations. You may not be well versed in that play. Those unknowns may cause you to not convert. For me, I favorite the plays I know I'm going to call. In my normal playbook, I use Coastal Carolina's playbook, and I have about 4 or 5 plays that I call. On this one, I've made an example of 3 plays that should cover most situations. So why cross is important? Because it gives me some options. We'll start with that one first. Your playbook's going to be different. We're going to have Duke on a random play. Your playbook's going to be different. Your plays are going to be different. But that part doesn't matter. It's finding your play style, knowing how you want to play, and then picking plays that add to that. So you don't want to be fighting yourself. You don't want to be flipping through the playbook. Oh, let's try this. Let's try that. Find plays that work. You can do that on first, second down, whatever. But on third down, you're going to want to know those plays that you can go to and convert. So for this one, you have a couple crossing patterns. But what you can do out of it is a lot of flexibility. What I like to do is a wheel. What is going on? Put them on a wheel. That gives you an option down the sideline, especially if everybody else is going one way. So little things like that. He's not going to catch that, but you get the point. It gives you some flexibility. So you're going to want to make some changes. You can make some changes. So what I like to do is I like to cross them, especially if they have single high safety. In this one of these guys should find some grass. But that one play gives you a lot of options depending on what the defense is doing. So it's a flexibility play for me. Other ones that work, I try to do a run or two. On this playbook, I couldn't find halfback direct, but if you haven't used halfback direct, that is super effective, especially in the red zone where it can be difficult to score. The computer does a really good job of taking away a lot of things. So that way you have that little bit extra help. Counter works, that's something I'm comfortable with. I kind of know my guys' speed on all my offensive line positions and all the guys that are pulling. So with that, I'm comfortable. It took some practice. Right away, I couldn't hit the gap. I had to wait. I had to learn what the timing looked like, but that's another play that I personally use. I'm not telling you to use these plays, but I'm showing you examples of ones that work for me because I've ran them so many times already. Jet touch pass, if you've seen any of Bordeaux's videos, he got me onto that play. He runs it a lot in a lot of situations, and it works pretty well, especially if you're on the hashes. So what I'll do is my 4th play is usually halfback screen. So I'll go halfback screen one way, and then I'll go jet pass the other way, keeping the hashes separated. So then I'm always running to the wide side of the field. It doesn't work as well in the middle of the field, but I know what my guys are going to do. I know what my blockers' speed look like, and I know kind of where they're going to be. So it gives me an idea and a little bit of an advantage. The next tip is extremely important, even though it's going to sound simple. Trust me, it's knowing your personnel. You have 85 guys in your roster. You're not going to remember all their names or all their traits or any of that. But what you're going to want to know is which players are going to help you capitalize in certain areas. So for this purpose, I'm going to really focus on the defensive side of the ball because, as I mentioned in my last video, that is the toughest thing to do so far on this game. So if you're getting this game today or tomorrow, you're a little behind, this is going to help you get ahead. So starting with linebackers, little disclaimer here. If you're an experienced Madden player, this is going to be a waste of your time. But if you're new to these type of games, this is targeted specifically for you because I never found this information. It took me a lot of years of struggling before I figured out some tricks that are going to help the casual player. So essentially, you're going to start with a linebacker. I'm going to use some terms and break them down. So this is very entry level, but it's going to help some of you younger audience. You're going to find out who you want to use her. That's step one. For most people, that's a linebacker. Some people that are bold, they'll use a safety. A lot of beginners, they use a lineman. If you have the ability, get away from the lineman and start using a linebacker. That's going to be your user, quote-unquote user. So in this situation, Power Echols, I'm running a 4-2-5. I'm running a 4-down lineman, 2 linebacker, 5 DB, base defense. Where is Power Echols going? He's my best player. He's going to be my off-ball linebacker. That's who I'm going to use to kind of cover the field where I can use the rest. So I'm looking for a user. What numbers matter in a user? For me, I'm looking for 2 traits, or 2 stats. Speed and zone coverage. If they don't have zone coverage, but they have speed, that's okay. But if they have zone coverage, then I can flip depending on, I prefer lining up, head up on the tight end, depending on which side I'm using. So then I can kind of use her both. So there's not a magic number. Speed, you're not looking at, it has to be a certain threshold. You just want to use the players that you can use best. And for a lot of those small schools, it's not going to be a 95 overall speed or an 88 speed. You may have 82 speed, and that may be your fastest guy. Use who you have, but these tips are going to help no matter what. So Campbell here, he's got 77 speed. Cannot beat that. That's my goal, is looking to beat that. So for those of you who don't play Madden a lot, it doesn't have to be a linebacker. As you can see here, there's strong safeties, free safeties, all listed. I don't think there's corners. It's just those 2 positions. So who am I looking for? I'm looking for somebody that checks that speed block. So the name that sticks out right away is Patterson, 95 speed. When I scroll over to his zone, he's not going to be the best zone guy, but he's going to have acceptable levels of zone. He's going to have a 70 overall or 70 zone coverage. That's going to work for the purposes of what I'm trying to do on defense. So I'm going to pop him in there. So now I can user him, have off ball with Power Echols. If I want to swap, I can use Power Echols and trust Patterson to make a play. And then essentially I'm running 6 DBs. So that works. Moving on to linebacker, I'm going to go to slot linebacker or slot corner last. Move on to base corner. Looking at this, you want to know who you have. So right here I got Allen and Elijah Huzzy. Those are my top 2 corners. Then I drop down to Stewart. He's okay. He's got good speed, the things I talked about. But where he's going to fall short is when you go over here. You're going to look at his zone. We're going to scroll over there to his zone. He's only 66 zone. Okay, that's a problem. I cannot trust him in a base zone defense. They're going to pick him apart. So what I'm going to want to look for is a way to upgrade my defense. So each roster is going to be a little different, but what you're trying to do is find a guy that upgrades your defense. So what number sticks out? You got Jakeem Harris right here, and then you got Stick Lane right here. These 2 guys, they're both safeties. Is it okay to play a safety? On Madden, you don't do that too much. But on here, these guys are athletic. They're young. They're not as rigid as the NFL. Play them at corner, play them at safety, play your best 5, whoever those guys are. But what you're having to do, you're going to have to go swap them. So looking at safety, I always start with a safety because you want your best coverage guy back there just in case. That's going to cut down on those big plays. So I got Boykins and Lane. Okay, I made the swap already because I already made my decision. But going back into it, I am not good enough on my team as a 3-star program to have an 82 overall sitting on my bench. Just not. I'm not that good. Or an 83 overall. We have to find ways to get both these guys on the field. So this is going to check 2 boxes for me. So I'm going to move Lane. I'm going to take him off the depth chart completely at safety. I'm just not even going to bother. So I'm going to try to find Patterson because these guys here, if you're new to these games, this is a tip that no one taught me for a long time. These are going to be your guys on kickoff return. These are going to be your guys on kickoff, punt. These are the type of guys that are going to be special teams. So you're going to want to use guys that you have speed here in these areas too. So why do I not have Patterson there? Because I have Hardy, and then I'm going to flip them on the other one. So I'm going to move Patterson as number 2. So now both of them are playing special teams, capitalizing on the strengths of my team. Because if not, they're just going to pick random dudes. And then you're going to end up with slow guys on your special teams getting burned for long kickoffs, kick returns. Okay, so now we're going to go back in. You got Stick Lane. Stick Lane's going to go up here. Where do you play him? Do you play him in the slot? Do you play him? How do you make that decision, right? So what you're going to want to look at next is back to their zone. So they're all similar speed, so it doesn't really matter. Similar height, doesn't really matter. We got Marcus Allen here with 6'2". I'm going to keep him on the outside. I'm going to put him on an island. How do I determine who else I want? Okay? So I'm going to go back to the zone. Sounds simple, But I'm telling you, if you're new to this game, this is going to help massively. Elijah Hussey right here, 87 zone. Do I want to play him in the slot? Or do I want to play him outside? 87 zone, if I'm running a cover 3 or a cover 2, it does not matter, either one. Especially in a cover 2, this dude is going to be a star. You're going to put him over on an island. He's going to play outside corner for you. And he's going to, excuse me, he's going to lock down whichever area you're putting him in. Lane, okay, he's got a 77 zone. He's the worst of the 3. We're going to put him on the inside. Why? Because we have a user somewhere around there that we're going to help make up for that. Plus, we have a good middle linebacker. He's not going to get as exposed right there. You can put him on the outside, but that 10-point difference, Hussey is going to be a star. And I can tell you from experience, this makes a big difference in this game because, especially in cover 2 where he's playing a hard flat, my man picks off the passes, anything at him. They don't catch passes in his zone on anything short. So that's going to be the trick there. So what I'm going to do is leave him like that. And then when I go back outside, I'm going to swap him in the slot corner. I'll put Lane right there. So Lane is now my slot corner. It'll also tell you who's better at slot. So he's not even as good as slot. So that could have made a decision and made your decision a little bit faster. But knowing your personnel, when you're moving from team to team, you're going to struggle with that at first because you don't know those players. I watch a lot of Carolina football, so I had a general idea who's going to be good in certain positions. But it's important. Learn your personnel, know where to put your players, and that will help at least start off your dynasty. So now that you know your personnel, you're going to want to find plays and schemes that work for what you're trying to do. So as I previously discussed, I'm going to use a base 4-2-5. I'm going to use a lot of cover 3 sky, and I'm going to use a lot of cover 2. Where's it at? Cover 2 right there. On occasion, I'll use cover 4. I'll use man if I need to. But my base defense is going to be a split between cover 3 and cover 2. Those are my audibles. Those are things that are going to work for me when I need them. So on this one, random doubles. Okay, so I'm going to shift cover 3 down every time. You'll see what happens. When I shift it down, it's going to stop the run. If you don't shift it down, they're going to gash you for yardage. Easy money all day long. Basic rule of thumb, and I got this from a pro Madden player. Simple, simple, simple. You're just going to want to shade cover 3 down. Shade cover 3 down. You're still going to move the ball on you a little bit because the defense is tough, but you're going to take those runs away. You're going to at least get bodies in the box to try to stop them. Okay? So now that you have that done, I'm going to switch to a cover 2 man, or cover 2, sorry, and I'm not going to touch anything. Because if I shade down on this, I'm going to be getting beat in the mid zones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this where it is, and then I'm just going to play. It essentially is a bend but don't break defense, but it's going to take away enough to try to get you some chances to get a little bit of pressure. I'm not a big guy that believes in blitzing, so this helps prevent big plays with giving you a chance. So if I am going to send a blitz, though, I have found success using the defensive lineman, and then you just hope for the best. Sometimes they'll take the top off the defense, but at least this gives you a chance. So those are a few quick tips. If you're running cover 4, don't touch anything. If you're running cover 2, don't touch anything. Everything else, shade down. I'll go over a few offensive schemes, little tips that are going to help you move the ball when you're having a tough time. If you're not familiar with directing traffic, what you're going to do, if you have a guy that needs to free open, that he's sitting on a route, so we'll use Gavin Blackwell here. He's covered. He's covered. He's not doing anything. He's not going to do anything. Eventually, he's going to break on his own. But if you don't want to wait for that, you can press the right stick in a direction, and it's going to send him in that direction you pressed. Excuse me. So an example here, I'm going to send him up the field. That picked up R1. So it's going to be your closest receiver. So it wasn't Gavin Blackwell, but it worked out. Same thing. Rolling that way. Nothing's open. I know nothing's going to be open. There's no point in him standing on the sideline. At least I give him a chance here. Super effective at smaller schools where you don't have the athletes to make plays. Gavin Blackwell is my 6th best receiver on this team. So I'm using him as an example because it's going to show you kind of how that works. Same thing here. I threw him open. So that's what you're going to do to direct traffic on some of those plays that otherwise aren't open. Something else important to note is reading the defenses. If you can read what the defense is trying to take away from you, you're going to find the openings. A football field is 53 yards wide and 100 yards long. There's going to be gaps. There's going to be open space. You just have to find it. So in this situation, it's a controlled environment. It's going to be much more difficult in the game. But if you practice this skill, you're going to get better at it, and you're going to be faster making your reads and finding the open space. So in this situation, I got Duke. They're going to be running a cover 2 with the middle linebacker dropping deep. So I don't know that, but you can see off the rip that they only have one linebacker in the middle of the field. So what you're going to want to do is do something to try to create some space. So in this situation, I'm going to put slant. I love the double slant crosses right in the middle of the field. You're going to make somebody make a decision. Nobody, they pulled both of them. Try to move with your quarterback. Ideally, he wouldn't have fumbled, but that's what you're going to want to find, that space. So we'll do one more controlled play, and then we'll go to random plays, and I'll try to show you how I do it. So they're really taking away just about everything, but you're going to want to move the ball like that. Just dink and dunk if you have to. Take what they give you. You have plenty of plays. You're going to run a lot of plays in the game. They don't all have to be touchdowns. So we're going to pick a new play. We're going to stay with the same offensive routes because I can do a lot out of that. And then we're going to put Duke on a random play. So this looks like the same coverage, right? So what did we do there that worked? We're going to put him on a slant. We're going to put him on a cross. We're going to make that middle linebacker decide. They've dropped into a cover 3. Everybody dropped. So we can do I don't think you can do... You can't replay the play. But essentially, that's what they dropped into. So same thing now. You have other linebackers in the picture. They're in a zone. You can clearly tell because they're not man aligned. So where are the weaknesses? You're going to want to snap it, and you're going to find what they do. That was a terrible pass, but I read that correctly. Same thing. Where's the gaps? Take what they give you. They don't all have to be touchdowns. You want to move the ball down the field. So single high safety. I'm going to put him on a seam route, and we'll try to find some space. Single high safety shows me that they can't cover the sidelines. Easy money. That is a play and a concept I love, especially if I have a quick tight end. Okay, same thing. Drop the pass right there in between the safeties. Make them make a decision. Find the open man. Spread the field. You can stick to those concepts. You will put up more points on offense. I promise. Another big tip is game management. When you start off, this is going to be different than anything you've played, even if you're an experienced Madden player. This game is going to be very difficult, and you are going to turn the ball over a lot. Turnovers are bound to happen, but don't chase the points you lost on the turnover, because then you're going to compound your problems. Turnovers can come in bunches. This brings me to a famous saying. They say, when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. If you start to spiral, take a deep breath, slow down your offense, and find some of your comfort plays that we talked about, and focus on moving the chains. Get a little bit of rhythm, and see if you can put together a good drive. It's much easier to come back down 7 than it is down 21. Take my word for it, I'm an expert at starting games down 3 scores, and spoiler alert, it doesn't end well. These games are a lot longer than they seem, so you don't have to chase those points. When you chase them, bad things are going to happen, and you're going to find yourself in really ugly positions. That game can get away from you versus leaning on your defense or leaning on your offense, depending on where you made the mistake. But especially when you throw interceptions, don't get mad and then just throw another one or try to force the ball in there, because it's going to go off the cliff in a hurry, and then you're not going to be able to come back. So if you can keep composed, especially on the road, because with the road conditions, it is tough to have any momentum. So if you get a little bit of momentum, play smart, play strategic, move the ball a little bit at a time, take what the defense gives you. If you stick to that, you're going to do a little bit better. If you get mad, you're going to find yourself down. I think the first game I lost by 60. I lost another game to Liberty by 30, and it was all off my own unforced errors. I'd throw 3 interceptions on 3 straight drives, then turn around and throw 3 straight touchdowns. If I wouldn't have committed all the turnovers, I would have won those games. So it's just something to kind of keep an eye on. If you found this information useful, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps grow the channel. If you hadn't already, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of my content. Hopefully, my hope is that this helps you win a few more games across your dynasty and maybe beat your friends. If I missed anything or there's any tips that you think might be useful for the community, make sure to drop them in a comment below. Until next time, I'll see y'all on the gridiron.